Welcome to AU Nation. I'm your host, Evan Blank, here to bring you the latest opinions from your Auburn Student Media Group. Joining me today first is JJ Jackson. He hosts the Fast Break for WEGL 91.1 FM and is also a sports analyst for the Eagle Eye Sports Report right here on Eagle Eye TV. JJ, how are you today?
Evan, I'm doing well. Glad to be back on the show with you today.
Next up is Meredith Brito. She calls Auburn softball games for WEGL Radio and also has a show on that same station called The Extra Point. Meredith, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
We always love having you here. And last but certainly not least, we have Nathan Deal. He's a sports writer for the Auburn Plainsman. Nathan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We always love having you around. We begin today. We're going to start with Auburn. And the Auburn baseball team, I should say, has played hard, but was swept by ranked Arkansas this past weekend. How will the team fare later in SEC play? JJ, we'll start with you.
And Auburn baseball has been very inconsistent this year. So far, 1-5 inside the SEC. I feel like some games they're able to hit the ball really well and score a lot of runs, i.e. that Arkansas series, a game they scored 7 runs in. Well, Arkansas scored 14. And it seemed to be a story like that throughout that entire series. And until they can have good pitching with good hitting in the same series, I think it's going to be difficult for Auburn to win baseball games.
About the baseball team, it's very you touch on, the power hitting has actually been pretty good lately, but the pitching really struggled against A&M. All of those games were really high scoring. You mentioned, the losses at Arkansas. I just can't really see this team having much success in the SEC this season. The LSU series this weekend at home is going to be absolutely crucial. If they can get something going in that series, maybe they get it turned around. LSU just always so talented, though. That's going to be an uphill battle. I really think this is just going to be a rebuilding season for this program.
I completely agree. And like you mentioned, JJ, the pitching's been a huge struggle. And most of the team's ERAs have been well above 3 or 4. So I think if they can really have consistent and strong pitching, that's the key to this game coming up against LSU. And then, like you also mentioned, the hitting. We got to have consistent hits because when we played Georgia Tech, there were a few times where we had opportunities to score and we didn't take advantage of those opportunities. So just tying these things together, I think we could have a shot against LSU, but we'll have to see.
All right. From one diamond in Auburn to the other, the Auburn Tigers softball team swept South Carolina this past weekend, and they seem to be on the right track with a road series against the Kentucky Wildcats coming up this weekend. How many games do you think they can take from a solid Kentucky team on the road? Meredith, we'll start with you.
I think there's a really good chance that Auburn can win every game against Kentucky in this series. They've been doing really well. They were struggling with hitting recently, but against in their last series against South Carolina, that wasn't an issue. I think they have a really strong chance in this game. The pitching's been doing pretty well, so I'd be a little surprised if Auburn were to lose in this series.
I agree with that. My gut feeling would be 2 out of 3. A road series is always difficult, especially a team that's ranked 12th in the country like Kentucky is. But Auburn just so talented. You have Jade Rhodes, really hot streak. She's hit a home run in 6 of her last 9 games. Reigning SEC Player of the Week for that, too. And Auburn in general has only lost 1 game since they lost their second game to Florida. They've really, since they got that series closing win over number 1 Florida, they've really started to hit their stride again. They have the 1 loss to Mississippi State. I would definitely say 2 out of 3 is the most realistic, but I absolutely think a sweep is in play here. Softball, absolutely. They have such strong bats, absolutely.
I think this team would be very happy if they were able to get 2 out of 3 wins against Kentucky. Heading into that South Carolina series a weekend ago, there was talks that the hitting wasn't there. Well, against South Carolina, the bats came alive. Like you said, Jade Rhodes and Casey Cooper had a lot to do with that, and they're tearing up as the South Carolina pitching staff, and they were very successful in that series. But like you said, Nathan, Kentucky's a team that's in the top 25 every year, and they're having a good season this year. And playing at Kentucky, that's a big ballpark, Evan. You'll be there this weekend, and so it's a tough environment to play in, but I think this team can win 2 of 3.
Yeah, it'll be a fun series. Coaching staff always talks about how they want to win 2 out of every 3 SEC games. Should be a tough road test for them up in Lexington. From local, we turn national, and what else but March Madness. Head coach for the Duke basketball team, Coach Mike Krzyzewski, was caught criticizing a player for Oregon after the Sweet 16 loss. Was Coach K out of line? Nathan?
Kind of. I guess it's kind of cheating to say that someone could be kind of out of line and kind of not, but I don't think that what he said deserves an outrage. All he said to the player was, I think you're too good of a player to be behaving like that. And the player actually agreed. He has said publicly he agreed with what Coach K said, but the reason he's a little out of line is you don't talk to players for other teams. It's kind of just this code between coaches. If you don't coach my players, I won't coach your players. And Coach K will learn from this. He's still, you think the players have such learning experiences, but coaches learn all the time too. So I'm sure Coach K will grow from this.
I completely agree with your statement, and I also think that it was really nice of him to go out there and apologize for the comments he made. But you're paid to coach your own team. You're not being paid to go and coach other people's players. So I think he was a little out of line. Just keep it to your guys. Keep your guys up. Keep their heads up, even though that they knew they were going to lose the game in the last few minutes. Just keep them motivated and keep it going.
I personally don't have a problem with what Coach K said after the game. Coach K is a guy who's been coaching for 36 years, and certainly if you go back to when he started coaching at Duke 36 years ago, behavior like that wasn't really tolerated, and so it's just a matter of him not adjusting to the year that it is. And the fact that Coach K has 5 national championships, I think he can do just about what he wants to. He's earned that right.
All right, we stick with men's basketball, and the Final Four has been set. Villanova will take on Oklahoma, while North Carolina will square off against Syracuse in Houston. Who is your pick to cut down the nets this year? JJ, we'll start with you.
It has to be the North Carolina Tar Heels. They're just too good. They're too deep. They're too big. I would love to see a Oklahoma-North Carolina showdown to see what Buddy Hield can do. But playing at NRG Stadium last year, there were some regional finals there where teams shot just 26% from 3. And then in the 2011 Final Four, teams shot 28% from 3. So it's a dome setting. The backdrop is tough for shooters to get accustomed to that. But Carolina doesn't shoot the ball. They pound it inside to Isaiah Hicks, Bryce Johnson, Kennedy Meeks, and all those guys. And no other team in the Final Four has bigs to stop them.
I completely agree, but for me, I think it's going to be Oklahoma. Just watching them in their last game against Oregon, they were making three-pointers like it was no problem at all. And Buddy Hield had an amazing game. It's going to be really hard for any of these teams to learn how they're going to be able to manage against Buddy Hield. So if he keeps it up and if they keep up their three-point percentage, I think they'll do really well and have a chance to win this tournament.
As you mentioned, the Dome Stadium can be a really tough setting for a shooting team, but out of those teams you mentioned, did any of them have Buddy Hield on them?
They didn't.
No, they didn't. Buddy Hield, absolutely the best player in the country this year. I'm going with Boomer Center to take the title over North Carolina. I just think Oklahoma played in arguably the strongest conference in America in the Big 12, went toe-to-toe with Kansas several times. Kansas was my national champion pick. So I absolutely think Oklahoma is going to win their first national title. Just too much talent shooting the ball. A matchup with them in North Carolina would be very interesting, such a contrast of styles. But I actually think Oklahoma is the most complete team in the country. And Buddy Hield's shooting is what puts him over the top.
In my original bracket, I did have the Oklahoma Sooners winning the championship, and I am riding all the way with Buddy Hield. His real name is Shavano, in case you didn't know that. It's such a great name. I don't know why he went with Buddy. All right, coming up next, we play a fun game. It's Fill in the Blank. You don't want to miss that. It's AU Nation on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6.
From the moment we met, I knew we belonged together. I could tell right from the start that I was melting your heart, purring while you pet me, winding around your feet, and getting to just chill out with you. It felt perfect. But I don't know what just happened. Why am I in a cage, and who are these other sad animals? Where am I? They say I might get a new home. How can I get a new home when our bond was so special? What did I do wrong? How can you have given me up?
Welcome back to AU Nation on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6, and it is time to play Fill in the Blank. I'm going to give a statement, and the analysts will have to fill in the blank. Analysts, you ready?
Let's rock and roll.
Let's see those vocabularies. First up, this LeBron James Twitter fiasco is just blank. JJ.
It's just irrelevant. I don't know why we're talking about it. The media really wants to talk about something for a team that's number one in the Eastern Conference, expected to return to the NBA Finals. It'll be LeBron James' 6th straight trip back to the NBA Finals. And I'm not going to buy into any of this. LeBron James unfollows his team on Twitter before, and he turns off social media every time his team enters the postseason. He's been very successful doing it. And then him wanting to team up with Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, and Carmelo Anthony, that's just a guy who's putting his dreams out there. Those are his best friends. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think we should keep talking about it.
Well, I mean, for me personally, some of it, like shutting off from social media, like that's okay. I don't really care that you unfollow your team from Twitter. That's fine. But saying that you want to play with a different team and make your own dream team, I think that's a little wrong. It's kind of saying, like, to the Cavaliers, like, this isn't my dream team. I don't really believe in all of you, and this isn't going to be the team that has a chance to win a bunch of championships that I want to have. So.
What's the particular word you would go for here to describe it, though?
Wrong.
Just wrong. All right, I would go with over dramatic from, I guess, both sides. It's a little over dramatic, their reaction to him unfollowing the team, because if you look, he also unfollowed some of the beat writers and whatnot. He does this every year. I mean, he's trying to get zoned in for the playoffs. I wouldn't assume another finals trip, though. The East isn't a particularly strong side, but having to deal with the Celtics is pretty difficult. There are some good teams on that side, but talking about over dramatic, I would also say LeBron himself. To say he's shutting himself off from certain aspects of social media, but he's still out there tweeting. He's still out there tweeting, hey, I want new Kendrick Lamar music. Hey, and then we got it. So, some good came out of this. But also saying things like, building a super team and whatnot. Just too much drama going on with the Cavaliers.
I'm not expecting them to make a finals appearance. I was just saying from LeBron's standpoint, he expects his team to be in the finals every single year. I'm not guaranteeing it. You're right. The Eastern Conference is a lot better than it is in years past. It's going to be a race between Cleveland and Toronto for who's the number one seed in these last 10 games.
JJ, you said turning off social media in the past has given him great success. I don't know if a 2-4 finals record is great success.
At least he's getting there.
All right, next up. That little kid that hugged Carmelo Anthony towards the end of the Knicks and Pelicans game the other night was blank. JJ.
It was awesome. The fact that he ran down, gave his idol a hug during the middle of an NBA game, props to him.
I mean, if I was the kid, I would think this is a life-changing thing. You get to hug your idol. How many people can say that they've done that? I also think it was a little random. I wasn't expecting the kid to go and run out on the court, but I think it's cute. It
was completely fine. I mean, it's completely fine. A kid, met one of his favorite players. I mean, it's adorable. I mean, a little kid meeting their idols. I mean, that's always adorable. So I have no problems with it.
And finally, our last one. Jason Hayward being chased by bees during spring training games was blank.
It was wild. You don't always see that in baseball. Playing in outdoors, you're going to see a lot of different things like that. And so for Jason Hayward to have the bees swarming around him, literally go and jump onto the wall trying to get away from them, just didn't expect to see that in a baseball game.
For me, if I was Jason Hayward, I would find it a little awkward, the TV being on you and everyone being able to watch how you're dealing with the bees just chasing you. I mean, how do you react to that when the world's watching you?
I would say it's kind of relatable because, growing up in the South with bees can be scary, You want to run from them. I mean, it's just funny to see these little human elements go into baseball. Like, even these strong baseball players are running for their lives from a swarm of, bees.
I mean, I know I would be.
It's very it's a very relatable thing, I guess. It definitely does make him seem human just to, have something to laugh at.
Baseball.
And bees are scary.
Yep, go ahead, Nathan.
Bees are scary.
Bees are scary. Baseball and the animal kingdom, very intertwined. You got bees all the time. You got squirrels. Last Thursday was the 15-year anniversary of the old Randy Johnson taking out the bird. So we always love baseball and animals. All right, that'll do it for Fill in the Blank. Coming up next, though, it's our burning question. You don't want to miss that. It's AU Nation on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6. Welcome back to AU Nation on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6. It's now time to end the show, and we always end it with our burning question. And it's on the NBA. The NBA All-Star Game is now shrouded in politics, as North Carolina has passed a law that some has described as anti-LGBT. The NBA and other companies are condemning this law. Would it be a bad move for the NBA to move the All-Star Game to another state, or do you support a decision to keep it in North Carolina? Analysts, take it away.
Personally, I think the way the law is right now, I think the NBA is perfectly justified in moving it away from Charlotte because, I mean, the NBA has proven to be maybe the most socially aware major league America has. You saw like the whole Clipper situation, how fast the NBA acted on that. They're doing the same thing this time. Even a lot of people in Charlotte, like I was just looking at the SB Nation site for Charlotte at the Hive, and even they were talking about if this law is still here next year, the game shouldn't be here. And a lot of states are jumping in to capitalize on that, which could help other cities. Atlanta's jumped in saying, hey, we vetoed this law, so now we're good guys. You can bring it to Atlanta. A lot of cities are going to be claiming that. So I absolutely think for the NBA's sake, I don't have a problem with them considering moving this game.
I don't either. I mean, I think if the NBA is worried of ruining their reputation and having people criticize them for possibly what's the word I'm looking for, believing in this bill.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's okay for them to move it, but possibly try and keep it, if you're going to move it, keep it somewhere short, like a short travel, so that people that have already bought a ticket and have been looking forward to this, they can just drive up to DC or they can go to Atlanta. That way they don't have to sell their ticket that they've been wanting to go to for a really long time.
Yeah, so I would just say that I definitely get the NBA's decision. If they do move it from Charlotte, protecting their image, that's very important for the National Basketball Association to do that. Selfishly, however, being from Charlotte, North Carolina, I've looked forward to this for a very, very long time. It's always been a dream of mine to go to the All-Star Game, and now that I have the possibility of doing that, it would be a shame. Yes, moving it closer would be something, but there's something about walking inside Time Warner Cable Arena and knowing that the All-Star Game is going to be there, so I'd hate to see it go.
I know exactly what you mean. When they were thinking about the Atlanta not possibly being the place for the Super Bowl in 2019 or 2020, I felt devastated thinking I might never be able to go into the Georgia Dome for a Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's all up to the NBA and how they want their image to be perceived.
Yeah, the NBA, like I mentioned, they're so quick to jump out in front of these things. I believe Indianapolis had a similar case of this last year before the Final Four, and that turned out fine. So, I mean, maybe they'll keep it in Charlotte, but if they were to move it, I could absolutely understand the justification for it. And I definitely think Atlanta would be a good landing spot for the All-Star Game.
All right, analysts, we always appreciate you coming in and giving your takes, especially that last one. Stuff like that's always tough when politics and sports sort of gets, wound up together. But that's it for AU Nation today. Make sure you go to eagleeyetv.com for more of AU Nation. I'm Evan Blank, and until next time, Auburn, I'm going to retire because Eagle Eye wouldn't let my son Gerlado run around the studio here. We'll see you next week.